Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ceremony of the inaugural class of ABI's 40 Under 40.
Good afternoon. That, by the way, was the voice of God. I am Trish Redmond, and I'm from Miami, and I've had the privilege of chairing the steering committee for this first class of honorees. In April of last year, ABI announced this initiative. The response was overwhelming. Nominations were submitted by candidates themselves, or mostly by mentors and colleagues, via a special website. Nearly 300 started the process, and 200 completed all the requirements. They were thoroughly evaluated over several months. I want first to thank my colleagues who served with me on the steering committee. Each spent hundreds of hours of work evaluating each of these nominees. They are all seasoned professionals from ABI's current leadership. Together, we established criteria and chose the honorees. Like ABI at large, these judges represent every region and practice type. They graded multiple rounds. In fact, some nominations were graded by 8 separate independent judges. The process was confidential. ABI membership was not a criteria. In fact, some of our honorees here today are not ABI members. While the judging was daunting with so many wonderful candidates, we are thrilled with the results. And now about our honorees. Those presented today come from firms both large and small, national, regional, boutique, commercial, and consumer, from every region of the country. They represent diverse practice areas: law, finance, consulting, academia, government, and more. Nearly half are women. The group is also diverse by race and ethnicity. Most important, each of these 40 young men and women of achievement is distinguished by extraordinary professional accomplishment and leadership in their respective communities. Some are as young as 34 years old, and more than 80% are partners or managing directors. In fact, at least one is a managing partner of his law firm. And they have inspiring and compelling stories to tell that are worth sharing. Some are immigrants or children of immigrants. Most worked their way through college and graduate school. They've worked in nonprofit legal aid programs, they've built homes along the southern border, and they've managed domestic violence shelters. They've volunteered in hospital kitchens or had first jobs at lumber yards or apple orchards. They've successfully balanced career and family. One has faced and beaten cancer. Another will soon be named a United States bankruptcy judge. Included also are those who've experienced life in an NFL training facility, a hedge fund, and even a DJ booth. They're all on the move, and they're outstanding people and professionals worth knowing. Each of our honorees is identified by a special lapel pin made of silver, sterling silver. The pin for 2017 and each year to come displays a unique color stone. You got it red this year? Okay, in addition, they will receive a personalized gift, which is on the stage today, which is a distinctive and bold symbol of recognition and achievement. ABI has the largest stage on which these stars can shine and pay it forward. CLE programs, substantive member committees, practical and scholarly publications, and other ways to influence our community. We will keep them connected, engaged, and promote their joint efforts and have them serve as a key focus group for what nourishes and sustains today's leaders. Our vision is that this class and successive classes, including those who perhaps narrowly missed inclusion this year, will in time remake and sustain the ABI. They will be our leaders and direct ABI to even a brighter future as the most important voice in our community. Joining me on stage now is Kevin Mitchell of Modio Legal, one of our sponsors. Modio is providing its audio version of the ABI Journal free to our awardees for a year, which is a $150 value. Now, let's meet our honorees.
Omar Alaniz. Omar is a partner with Baker Botts in Dallas, a member of the firm's bankruptcy group. He was a core member of the firm's ASARCO team, the most successful environmental bankruptcy in U.S. history. He is currently the lead counsel in a complex Chapter 11 related to a multi-million-dollar qui tam suit. He recently won an oral argument before the Texas Supreme Court that resulted in a $63 million judgment. Omar is the first attorney in his family. Raised in South Texas on the Mexican border, he worked his way through college and law school without financial support. A graduate of the University of Texas Law School, Omar gives back as a co-designer of the Starting Out Right seminar for young lawyers.
Vincent Alexander. Vince earned his undergraduate degree from Penn, where he played college football and later tasted life in the NFL with the Jets and Cardinals. He then entered investment banking and followed with a law degree with honors from the University of Miami, later clerking for Judge Robert Mark. With his firm in Miami, Vince was part of a team that successfully represented investor victims of one of the largest Ponzi schemes in Florida history. Vince has served as treasurer of the Black Lawyers Association in Miami and does pro bono work on behalf of indigent clients in bankruptcy matters, mentors minority law students, and volunteers for the CARE program.
Brian Anderson. Brian is a board-certified specialist in business bankruptcy law and a member in the bankruptcy and creditors' rights practice at his firm in Greensboro, North Carolina. Brian handles complex Chapter 11 cases, avoidance actions, and adversary proceedings. He earned his law degree with honors from American University's Washington College of Law before clerking for Judge Thomas Waldrop in North Carolina. Brian was named as a North Carolina Rising Star by Super Lawyers and named to Business North Carolina's Legal Elite. He also was recognized by Chambers USA as an up-and-coming lawyer in North Carolina.
Adam Bollinger. Adam is a member of the Financial Restructuring and Bankruptcy Practice Group. He represented the Federal Equity Receiver and Chapter 11 trustee appointed in the Thomas Petters Ponzi scheme cases and has coordinated fraud recovery efforts in Bermuda, the British Virgin Islands, and the Cayman Islands. Adam has published and presented at conferences in the U.S. and internationally. He has volunteered countless hours for the legal clinic at Plymouth Christian Youth Center, a health, education, and welfare organization serving inner-city youth in Minneapolis.
Anthony Casey. Tony is a professor of law at the University of Chicago Law School, where he is one of America's top scholars. He has published more than 20 articles. One was recognized as among the top 10 corporate law articles in 2015. Tony has chaired the Creditors and Debtors' Rights section of the AALS. He testified before the ABI Commission to study the reform of Chapter 11. His article on bankruptcy priority was cited in support of the Commission's proposed reforms. The father of 4, he spends part of his free time training for marathons and triathlons. His wife, Erin, is also a star of the Legal Academy, teaching in the corporate bankruptcy space as a colleague at Chicago. Before teaching, Tony was a partner with Kirkland & Ellis and clerked for Chief Judge Joel Flom of the 7th Circuit.
Matthew Faga. Matt practices in Denver. He was deeply involved in the reorganization of Brundage Bone Concrete Pumping, one of the largest construction companies in the U.S., and one whose work can be seen all over the city. The company's plan of reorganization restructured $240 million of debt and allowed the company to emerge and exceed projections. While an undergraduate, Matt volunteered as a financial relations intern for the oldest vocational rehab program in Boston. Here, he met a retired Skadden attorney who encouraged him to pursue bankruptcy law. Matt chairs the local rules committee, co-chairs the state bar bankruptcy section, and is a treasurer of its business law section. He also volunteers his time coaching University of Denver students for the Duberstein Moot Court competition.
Jeremy Fisher. Jeremy chairs his firm's bankruptcy practice group in Portland, Maine. He's represented major stakeholders in several complex regional bankruptcy cases in healthcare, high-tech, paper products, and the cross-border Montreal, Maine, and Atlantic Railway case. While attending law school full-time and graduating with high honors, Jeremy was a member of the Maine House of Representatives, where he served as chair of the Appropriations Committee. In his 3 terms, he helped pass a balanced budget and the largest bond package in state history. He also sponsored legislation creating the Maine Community College system. He currently serves on the board of Jobs for Maine's Graduates, a statewide nonprofit focused on at-risk youth. He volunteers for the Maine Early Learning Investment Group, where he advocates for universal access to pre-K education.
Ryan Foley. Ryan co-chairs the Bankruptcy and Creditors' Rights Practice Group in the Philadelphia office of his firm. He is a registered mediator with the Bankruptcy Court of Delaware and is board certified in creditors' rights law. Ryan earned the Dean's Award for Excellence in International Bankruptcy while completing the LLM in Bankruptcy at St. John's. He clerked for Judge Gloria Burns in the District of New Jersey. Widely published and a frequent speaker, he is also co-authoring a new book for ABI, The Business Creditor's Guide to Debt Collection and Bankruptcy. Ryan has volunteered with the New York City Bar Association's Veterans Assistance Project. His work led to 20 veterans receiving free legal assistance.
Miriam Goot. Miriam has a diverse consumer bankruptcy practice representing debtors, creditors, and Chapter 7 trustees. She serves on the Chapter 7 committee of the ABI Commission on Consumer Bankruptcy. As president of the Houston Bar Association's bankruptcy section, she created programs that targeted the needs of new lawyers, specifically in the areas of trial skills and advocacy. She helped create a weekly workshop for consumer practitioners who desire to expand their practice and learn how to file small Chapter 11s. Miriam relishes being in the courtroom and counts herself as fortunate to be part of a practice that is focused on doing good work and the opportunity to seek justice for her clients, a truly refreshing ideal.
Elizabeth Gunn. Elizabeth Gunn is an assistant attorney general and bankruptcy specialist in the Division of Child Support Enforcement. Elizabeth represents the division in bankruptcy matters through the Commonwealth. She also handles related cases in juvenile and domestic relations courts. She previously practiced with several law firms, representing creditors, asset buyers, official committees, and others. Her move to government service reflects her commitment to work-life balance. She serves on ABI's Consumer Committee and is an at-large director for the local iWork board. Elizabeth is also chair-elect for the State Bar Bankruptcy Section and the Richmond Bar. A frequent author for the ABI Journal, she also co-authored ABI's new book on consumer bankruptcy.
Paul Haig. Paul is the chair of the firm's Insolvency and Reorganization Practice Group. Board certified in business bankruptcy law, he earned the Catherine Height Award from the ABA Business Bankruptcy Committee, as well as ABI's Committee Leader of the Year Award. Paul has spoken on bankruptcy topics at over 40 national and local conferences and has published more than 50 articles on bankruptcy-related topics for national bankruptcy publications. He's co-authored 4 books, including 2 ABI publications on representing the Creditors Committee and on bankruptcy sales. Paul is a leader of Access to Bankruptcy Court, a Detroit-based nonprofit that assists low-income consumer debtors.
Monique Hayes. Monique represents parties in commercial transactions, corporate restructuring, compliance, estate planning, and litigation. She previously had her own firm, the Hayes Firm, PLLC, and clerked for Judge Laura Issacoff in Miami. She was included in the 40 Under 40 Outstanding Lawyers of Miami-Dade County. She earned the iWork Rising Star Award and the inaugural Blackshear Fellow Award in 2007 by the NCBJ. Monique received the Sojourner Truth Award from the Miami-Dade Professional Women's Alliance in recognition of her service to women. The Florida Network Chair for iWork, she is President-elect of the oldest and largest bar association of African Americans in Miami-Dade.
Whitman Holt. An honors graduate of Harvard Law School, Whitman handles cases across the bankruptcy spectrum, including appellate practice before the U.S. Supreme Court and Ninth Circuit. He represented Jefferson County, Alabama in its Chapter 9, involving restructuring of billions of dollars of debt. He maintains an active pro bono practice in high-impact consumer bankruptcy cases, including the Midland funding case. As the eldest of 9 children in rural Montana, leadership comes easily to Whitman. He has served as a leader of national associations such as the Financial Lawyers Conference and NBC. He is co-author with his partner Ken Klee of Bankruptcy and the Supreme Court, the comprehensive desk reference on the High Court.
Ariane Holschlag. Ariane represents individual and institutional debtors and creditors, as well as Chapter 7 panel trustees. Even in the current climate of decreasing consumer filings, her practice is growing. Ariane is the youngest member of the ABI's Commission on Consumer Bankruptcy and co-chairs the annual Eugene R. Weedoff 7th Circuit Consumer Bankruptcy Conference. She is also a frequent speaker on topics such as student loans and has written for the ABI Journal. In addition, she has served multiple leadership roles on ABI's Consumer Bankruptcy Committee, including Education Director. Ariane has volunteered for nearly 10 years in the CARE program, teaching financial literacy skills to teenagers and young adults.
James Irving. Jim chairs the firm's bankruptcy and restructuring practice group and is the office managing partner and the youngest member of the firm's leadership. In addition to his insolvency practice, he is responsible for the business development and management in the firm's second largest office. A natural leader, he was a class president while an undergraduate at Williams College. While practicing for DLA in Chicago, he received the Chicago Bar Association's and Chicago Bar Foundation's Exceptional Young Lawyer Award. Jim now sits on the advisory board of ABI's Southeast Bankruptcy Workshop. Once he arrived in Louisville, he was a founding member of the Young Professionals Board of the Legal Aid Society, for which he still actively volunteers.
Shanti Katona. Shanti represents debtor companies, committees, and lenders. Her representations have included hundreds of student creditors in the Corinthian College's bankruptcy. Co-author and an article of the Wall Street Journal on bridging the gender gap in the restructuring industry. She's a member of the firm's Women's Initiative and Diversity and Inclusion Committees. Recognized as a Delaware Rising Star, she's on the board of the local chapter for iWork and the South Asian Bar Association. Shanti captured the firm's Cycle for Survival team, raising more than $60,000 for cancer research.
Jeannie Kim. Jeannie represents creditors and financial institutions in bankruptcy, creditors' rights, receiverships, and commercial litigation. After law school, she clerked for judges in both the Central and Northern Districts of California. She has also been invited to discuss the U.S. bankruptcy court system at the International Association of Korean Lawyers annual conference. A member of NCBJ's 2017 Next Gen class, she currently serves on the Education Committee for 2018. Her publication on California assignments for the benefit of creditors will be out soon. She has also volunteered as an attorney supervisor for the University of California Irvine School of Law's Domestic Violence Clinic.
Jennifer Kimball. As a restructuring attorney and now the Director of Business Development at Prime Clerk, Jennifer has represented Chapter 11 debtors, creditors, and retiree committees, Chapter 7 trustees, and other stakeholders in and out of court. She represents the Committee of Retirees of Eastman Kodak, a 9-member committee acting on behalf of 53,000 retirees. Jennifer co-chairs ABI's Young and New Member Committee. She serves on the Southeast Bankruptcy Workshop Advisory Board and on the Development Committee for the South Region. She is a coordinating editor for the ABI's Journal Building Blocks column and is an 11th Circuit editor for Volo. She recently joined the executive board for iWork. Jennifer volunteers for the Junior League of New York and the Catholic Renewal Young Professionals Group.
Brian Lohan. Brian is part of the firm's corporate reorganization and bankruptcy group, where he represents parties in a wide variety of distressed situations both in and out of court. He was debtors' counsel in the Dynergy bankruptcy cases and confirmed the plan of liquidation for the operating debtors. He has also represented AT&T in significant roles in technology restructurings, including Radio Shack. While in Chicago, he was an adjunct professor at John Marshall Law School and worked in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Brian is active in Tina's Wish, dedicated to funding important research for the prevention and early detection of ovarian cancer. He is also active in the Big Shoulders Fund, which provides programs to benefit students in inner-city Chicago.
Justin Luna. Justin is an equity partner with the firm and is involved in bankruptcy, creditors' rights, financial technology, banking, restructuring, and international and commercial litigation. He has been involved in more than 100 cases as debtors' counsel in Chapter 11 cases, including the largest reorganization ever filed in the Middle District of Florida. He's won summary judgments in more than 500 adversary cases. Board certified in business bankruptcy law, Justin has served as president of the Central Florida Bankruptcy Association. In 2014, Justin received the Florida Supreme Court's Pro Bono Service Award for his role in creating the Bankruptcy Pro Se Clinic in Orlando, which sees the second highest number of pro se filings in the country.
Robert Marticello. Robert is a founding partner of a bankruptcy boutique law firm in Southern California, where he has represented virtually all parties in bankruptcy cases and in workouts. Robert previously clerked for 2 bankruptcy court judges. He is routinely asked to speak on a variety of educational topics and has authored numerous articles. Consistently recognized in Super Lawyers and the Best Lawyers in America, he was selected for the NCBJ Next Gen program. He currently serves as a Ninth Circuit lawyer representative and has served as president of both the Orange County Bankruptcy Forum and the California Bankruptcy Forum.
Ryan Maupin. Ryan is a principal in Grant Thornton's corporate finance practice, where he advises U.S.-based and international companies, sovereign wealth, and private equity funds both in and out of court. Ryan held the CFO position at a luxury brand merchandiser during the restructuring of its U.S. and Italian divisions, served as general manager of Seattle-based casinos during a British Columbian insolvency proceeding, and he assisted liquidators in the Cayman Islands. Recently, Ryan served as CEO of an oil and gas services business, selling assets successfully through a Section 363 sale. Ryan grew up on a farm in Illinois. His first job at 10 years old was walking beans for his father and grandfather.
Catherine McGlynn. Kate is a financial advisor and has been involved in cases both in and out of court. Some of her representations include the trade creditors' 100% recovery in the Rotech healthcare case and the Corinthian College's bankruptcy. Kate has been invited to be part of Deloitte Financial Advisory Services' Senior Women in Leadership for the Americas, one of 3 women from the U.S., and the only woman representing the corporate restructuring group. She has trained colleagues in Bogota on cross-border restructuring and has written numerous white papers for in-house and public distribution. A graduate of the University of Texas, Kate has been active in the New York Junior League for 10 years. She's also been a board member of the Breast Cancer Treatment Task Force.
Kate Nicholson. A graduate of Harvard Law School, Kate started her own firm to affirm the work-life balance of a smaller firm. She represents not only debtors, but also trustees, secured lenders, unsecured creditors, creditors' committees. Kate has taught foreign law students legal research and writing at Boston University School of Law. She's presented at the Federal Judicial Center's National Workshop for Judges. She has been published in the Norton Annual Survey and serves on the Chapter 7 Committee of ABI's Commission on Consumer Bankruptcy. She's a consultant with Harvard Law School's International Human Rights Clinic, and prior to law school, Kate managed a 35-bed emergency domestic violence shelter.
Christine Okike. A graduate of Columbia Law, Christine leads the firm's training on Chapter 11 plans and disclosure statements, spearheads meetings on developments in restructuring, and organizes presentations from investment bankers and financial advisors. She is also one of the founding members of Skadden's Women Excelling in Law and Leadership. This year, she was inducted into the International Insolvency Institute's Next Gen Leadership Program. Christine's work has received recognition, including Deal of the Year for deals over $1 billion. Christine serves on the board of Her Justice, a nonprofit that provides free legal services to low-income women and children, while helping to raise $100,000 for victims of domestic violence. Oscar Pincus.
Accepting the award on Oscar's behalf is Tanya Moiron.
Oscar advises clients in connection with restructuring alternatives, financing, and litigation. He's had experience in notable cases in the energy, high-tech, and retail space. He's a frequent speaker and writer, including contributing articles for the ABI Journal. He earned the M&A Advisors Emerging Leader and Deal of the Year awards and has been featured as a top bankruptcy lawyer in the deal pipeline. He is also an associate practice group advisor at Denton's, helping mentor younger associates. His pro bono work includes a recent win of refugee status for an abused Belizean mother and her child. Shane Ramsey. Shane is vice chair of the firm's bankruptcy and financial restructuring practice group. He focuses on committees of unsecured creditors, indenture trustees, secured creditors, bondholders, and others. He has served in the leadership of ABI's business reorganization and young and new members committees. Shane's proudest achievement was his pro bono collaboration with the Southern Poverty Law Center and 11 other firms in litigation on behalf of hundreds of H-2B workers from India. Shane helped win a $12 million jury verdict and a $20 million settlement for the class of workers post-bankruptcy. The American lawyer selected the case as its Global Citizenship Award Grand Prize winner.
Luis Rivera. Luis represents lenders, landlords, individuals, and financial institutions in Chapter 7, 13, and 11, as well as in voluntary and discharge proceedings. He has been a Chapter 7 panel trustee for 7 years, earning the Alexander L. Pasquet Professionalism Award in 2015. Luis sits on the ABC Board of Directors and serves on its Standards Committee. He also serves on the district-wide steering and local rules advisory committees and as a member of the Judicial Liaison Committee for the Middle District. Today, he serves as a director of the Middle District of Florida Pro Se Bankruptcy Legal Assistance Clinic.
Melissa Root. A partner in the Chicago office of Jenner & Block, Melissa's notable representations include the Official Committee of Retirees in the American Airlines case. She now represents the Official Committee of Retirees in the Puerto Rico Title III cases. Melissa serves on the Advisory Committee for ABI's Central States Workshop. A graduate of the University of Michigan Law School, she's also very active in the ABA and iWork. Melissa completed a year-long fellowship program with Leadership Greater Chicago. She also serves many charitable organizations that help women and young girls. She maintains an active pro bono practice and is currently representing a class of students in the ITT bankruptcy.
Oksana Rosoluk. Oksana arrived here from the Ukraine at 19. She worked tirelessly to perfect her English, one of her 4 languages. Her dream was to become a lawyer, and she graduated 3rd in her law school class. When delivering her first child, Oksana sustained nerve damage, resulting in both legs being paralyzed. After intensive rehabilitation over 6 months, she returned to work and is now fully recovered. At DLA, she's achieved great results for clients in complex Chapter 11 and Chapter 15 cases, among them the Abengoa case. In the pro bono sphere, she spearheads the Clemency Project, growing the team to more than 100 lawyers and more than 7,000 volunteer hours. The effort won Chicago's annual Justice Seymour Simon Award.
Summer Shaw. Summer is a founding member of a bankruptcy boutique firm here in Southern California. She represents creditors, debtors, and trustees. The eldest of 3 children, her family lived below the poverty line for much of her youth. She spent every summer volunteering in Mexico with a nonprofit. In her senior year of high school, Summer's parents moved the entire family there. The experience helped shape her desire to work with struggling families and instilled a desire to always give back. Summer is the president of the Inland Empire Bankruptcy Forum. She co-chaired the California Bankruptcy Forum in 2016 and teaches at the Desert Trial Academy. She's been on the pro bono honor roll for the bankruptcy court in California.
Sage Sigler. Sage is a partner handling middle market and large cases in healthcare, retail, and aerospace reorganizations. Her work in the Sea Launch case earned Deal of the Year honors. She has appeared in mega cases such as Energy Future Holdings and Lehman Brothers. Sage has served for years as a judge in ABI's corporate restructuring competition, and she is a director of iWorks Georgia Network. Vice chair of the Atlanta Bar Bankruptcy Section, she's been on every rising star and up-and-coming lawyer list you can make. Her pro bono experience includes a successful hardship discharge of student loan debt for a disabled Chapter 7 debtor and a non-dischargeable judgment benefiting a national non-profit organization victimized by embezzlement.
Zachary Smith. Zach chairs the firm's bankruptcy and restructuring practice. He's been lead counsel to First Bank Puerto Rico in complex Chapter 11 cases and in matters related to Promisa. He was lead counsel to a distressed venture capital startup in its domestic UK and Norway affiliates in Delaware. He handled a successful acquisition of the largest Caribbean marina. Zach was selected by Law 360 as one of 5 national rising stars. A published author on the Section 363 sale process, Zach is a senior lecturing fellow at Duke Law School and an advisory board member for ABI's Caribbean Symposium. A Harvard graduate, Zach is also a Juilliard-trained pianist who has given solo performances at Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center.
Cullen Speck. Cullen co-chairs the firm's restructuring and litigation practice and is a managing partner in the firm's Richmond office. She's represented the liquidating trustee in a major healthcare case and the committee in Peabody Energy. She grew the firm's revenue by $6 million in a year. A straight-A student in a graduate corporate finance program at Harvard, she plans to complete a master's in management. She also co-authored ABI's Chapter 15 for foreign debtors. Cullen has taught bankruptcy at William & Mary School of Law and sits on the board of directors of the State Bar. She is also executive secretary of the EquiKids Therapeutic Writing Program and a board member of court-appointed special advocates. Elizabeth Vandersteeg. Lisa is a legal team leader and technical advisor at her firm. She represented one of the world's largest litigation funding firms in its acquisition of a $50 million stake in a judgment against an investor. Lisa was named an Illinois super lawyer and was a rising star from 2011. She is the executive director of commercial bankruptcy litigation and strategic alternatives for and against distressed businesses. She also serves as an associate editor of the ABI Journal for the past 5 years. Active in iWork, she's co-chair of her local court liaison committee. In law school, she represented and advised clients in the areas of family and probate law and argued before court-appointed mediators and family court judges. She also clerked for Common Cause in Washington, D.C.
Eric Walker. Eric is a partner in the Chicago office, where he has broad Chapter 11 experience. Notably, he represented the petitioners in the Radlax case before the U.S. Supreme Court. He was lead counsel for the successful stalking horse bidder in the Health Diagnostics Lab case, which was awarded the 2016 Restructuring Deal of the Year by M&A Advisors. Eric was nominated to the 2013 Next Gen class for the NCBJ. He currently co-chairs ABI's Real Estate Committee and serves on the board for the Central States Bankruptcy Workshop. Eric's pro bono service earned an award for his successfully representing a Chicago artist to recover artwork from a bankruptcy trustee for a failed consignment store.
Andrea Wimmer. Andrea grew up in Austria and moved to the U.S. by herself after high school with the single goal of becoming an American lawyer. 10 years later, she built a firm and established herself as a respected member of the legal community. Andrea practiced as debtor's counsel in Consumer Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 cases while also running her own firm. Andrea has spoken at ABI's Southwest Bankruptcy Conference, the Norton Bankruptcy Institute, and the State Bar. A member of the NCBJ Next Gen Class of 2016, she earned the 2014 Member of the Year Award from a consumer attorney group and serves as president of the Arizona Bankruptcy Inn of Court.
Anupama Uramali. Anu is special counsel at the firm, where she currently represents major automotive manufacturers in restructuring negotiations with Takata. She recently represented the official committee of the largest helicopter service provider servicing the oil and gas industry. Anu was recognized by M&A Advisor as an emerging leader and by Super Lawyers as a rising star. She's active in ABI, TMA, and iWork. Anu serves on the Women's Initiative Committee at her firm. She is vice president of the ABI Law Review Alumni Association, where she mentors students. She's active in a cycling event benefiting rare cancer research and is on the board of Reading Partners, which provides children with individualized reading support.
Blanche Zell Manovich. Blanche has led engagements as financial advisor to the Debtor and Unsecured Creditors Committee. Her financial model helped some 39 debtor entities arrive at a consensual plan in the Tausa case. Blanche is a certified insolvency and restructuring advisor and is the first recipient of the Shining Star Award from the New York network of iWork. She is a frequent speaker and has written for the ABI Journal, as well as contributed to the ABI Brief series of ebooks on building blocks, essential tools for the bankruptcy practitioner. Blanche founded a women's networking group in the restructuring industry to help with new business and mentoring. A Cycle for Survival team captain, she's raised over $25,000 for cancer research.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's collectively salute the inaugural class of ABI's 40 Under 40.
I felt empty. I hadn't found my physical and mental limits. It just came into my head, 50, 50, 50.
50 Ironmans, 50 states, in just 50 days.
Meets the Iron Cowboy. And he's very tired, but you are fighting through it. They say he once wore a cowboy hat in the crowd of athletes, and the name stuck.
It seemed pretty much impossible.
Comical, yeah, terrifying.
Oh, yeah. He said, will you coach me? And I said, I don't think you can do it.
This guy thinks there's a chance. It's crazy.
The first few days were really chaotic.
They had forgotten my shoes.
So everybody's wearing like these smaller shoes.
Hey, I'll wear that hat.
And oh my God, last reps in, you're good.
Past 48 hours. I'm doing 2 Ironmans and 5 hours of sleep.
I'm like, how are you doing? He's like, God. So I don't really think he's good.
10.
Let's go from 3. Shit.
3. You guys are Boston fog off the road.
James says he can't feel his legs.
He'd sit down, he was asleep. It was so crazy to watch.
1, 2, snoring. You do 1, 2, 3 snoring on a bike, you crash.
And all of a sudden he's like, I can't do this.
I stopped chasing society's dream. And I went after my dreams.
This is what we as human beings can actually do.
Whatever trial you're having, it's hard.
There's a finish line to all of this. You've just got to get through today
It's awesome.
Fight.
We'll see you. Come, we'll be there with your bike waiting for you like we always are.
Always. Don't leave me waiting too long.
Welcome, the Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I have been on a whirlwind tour the past 60 days. I've been in 19 countries, and this is my last stop before I get to go home to see my family. But you guys are beautiful. That video always makes me emotional. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm just a dad, and I want to share my story with you guys. And I want you to know that this isn't about just triathlon. It's an attempt to help you open up your minds to truly is what is possible as human beings, and a few things that helped me along my way. Now, has anybody done an Ironman? 1, 2? Yes. 2 people. I love it. Okay, an Ironman is a distance of triathlon. An Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike ride, followed by a 26.2 mile run, which is a standard marathon. Now, that's 140.6 miles, and that all has to be covered by you. You've got to do the entire distance on your own. Uber, it's a cool company, but you can't call them. Our event starts with a swim. Now imagine just this group of people right here. You jump in the water, super excited to do your Ironman. The gun goes off, and you go from the position you're in now into a swim position. That's a different space you're occupying. You swim with your arms and your legs. I promise you, you are going to get kicked in the face. You're going to get punched. You're going to get swam over top of. If you're not in control in this moment, your day will end. It's very chaotic, and it's a human blender. Get out of the water, jump on the bike. This is the longest part of the day. It's where you start having conversations with yourself. You start wondering why you're there. You actually wonder why you paid money to do this. It's 112 miles long. After that, jump on the run to do the marathon. Now, I know all you guys think a marathon is with Netflix. It's a different relationship. This is a running marathon, and it's the longest part of the day. When you think about it, less than 1% of the population does a marathon, let alone the swim and the bike beforehand. And I know this is what you're thinking. It does to most people. Even a trained professional athlete, this is what it does. But the reality is, it's this. This is the feeling that I can't describe to you, and one that I wanted over and over again. So in 2012, I set out to break the Guinness World Record for the most Ironmans completed in a single year. And I did that through 11 countries. Now, at the end of that year, I'd learned a lot about my body, mentally and physically. And I remember looking over my wife and I said, "Do you think we've accomplished everything we've set out to do?" And she was like, "Yeah, I think we're done. We should go home." And it was maybe not the right timing to discuss what I wanted to do. But in my mind, I kept seeing the number 50. And it was 50 Ironmans in 50 consecutive days, one in every state. Now, when I made this announcement, the current standard at the time was 5 consecutive Ironmans. It was called the Epic 5. It was so big they put the word epic in front of it. And so when I came up with 50, they said it's impossible. It cannot be done. So I asked doctors, I said, "Is this possible? Can it be done?" And they said, "No, you might die." And so I stopped talking to doctors. I eliminated them from my circle of influence. They said it's impossible. The muscles, bones, and ligaments, it can't handle 140 miles a day. They said logistically it's impossible. You can't get to all 50 states. They said if you figure that out, it's what you can't control that's going to stop you. Weather, mechanicals, and all the little tiny things that's going to get in your way. And they said, I said, "Okay, I'll solve the first problem. I'll get a motorhome. We'll put everybody in it, and we'll drive around the country." And they're like, "Well, you have 5 kids, 4 daughters and a son." And I'm like, "They're coming with me." And they had an unbelievable summer because they got to do something really cool every single day. Their summer was very different than mine. They remember it. What state do you think we had to start in, if you could guess, in order to get around the country in time? Somebody say Maine? Maine. No, Hawaii. The answer is Hawaii. Hawaii's got the biggest time zone difference from the rest of the state. So do Ironman number 1 in Hawaii, and because the last flight that leaves in time to get us to Alaska, we have to do the first one starting at midnight. So you're facing the toughest endurance challenge of your life. Don't go to sleep. Wait till midnight, do the first Ironman. Get on a plane, fly to Alaska, touch down with just enough time to get into the water. Do Ironman number 2, get on a plane, fly to Washington, touch down with just enough time to get in the water. And do Ironman number 3. 3 Ironmans, 3 days, 3 states, a total of 6.5 hours of sleep. That's the worst possible way to start a journey where every single person has told you it's impossible. When you wake up on day number 4 and you're backed into a corner and you have no idea how you're going to do 47 consecutive more Ironmans, the exhaustion level that you're experiencing is absolutely 100% overwhelming. This is the path in which we took around the country. This was our plan A. Little did we know, every single day we were going to be dealt with an issue or a problem for us to quit. If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Day number 1, we were pulled over by the police. We were chased down, told to stop. You can't be on this road. You need to find an alternate route. That's a huge problem on day number 1. Every single day, we were given an opportunity to quit. If your journey's big enough, you're going to have an opportunity to quit every single day. Now, when was the last time you did something for the very first time? And what I mean by this is, when was the last time you intentionally got uncomfortable? Now think about that. We're creatures of comfort, and it's what we work so hard to achieve. I'm doing it right now. I'm trying to build a nice house for my family. But you have to become uncomfortable intentionally. You have to back yourself into a corner. Because over here, where it's uncomfortable, is where we learn and where we grow. And when I was backed into a corner on day number 4, facing extreme exhaustion, I had to figure it out. That's when the master problem solvers come out. Now, I woke up scared every single day because becoming uncomfortable is scary. It's exactly what they said. It was all those things that I couldn't control that was going to stop me. Day number 1 in Hawaii, I got so sick from heat stroke that I threw everything up. I called my doctor after 2 days of acid reflux, and I explained the symptoms to him, and he said, "Oh, it's easy, your diaphragm is stuck open." And I'm like, "How do I fix that?" And he goes, "We need to dislodge it." And I was like, "Well, how do I do that?" And he goes, "I need you to lay down, and then I need your one of your assistants to come over and punch you in the chest as hard as he can, and that should close it." And I was like, "Dude, stop it. That's not how we fix this. I'm in a lot of pain right now." He goes, "No, that's how we do it. Lay down." And we did that, and he came over, hit me, and I wouldn't have believed it had I not experienced it, but we heard my diaphragm close shut. Solved the problem. Now, that's something I didn't plan on happening, and it did. On day number 18, I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's 106 degrees outside, and I could if I lost concentration for 3 seconds, I'd fall asleep. 30 miles into my bike ride, I lost concentration for 3 seconds, and I fell asleep and crashed. Now, when you crash on your bike going 20 miles an hour, your hip swells up instantly, you get some road rash, and you have to ask yourself, is it worth getting back on my bike? 80 more miles and running the marathon that night. If the journey that you're on is significant enough, it's going to take courage to get back up when you fall. Because every pedal stroke after that's going to hurt. And then the realization that you have to get stuffed into a car and driven to Mississippi and do it again the next day. The moment you take your shoe, I'll take it off, it's okay. I get it. It's really tough when I go to an event and they're eating lunch. Yeah, that's when they have it tough with. The moment I realized that the next step wasn't going to kill me, that's when I knew it was possible. As soon as I learned that the body and mind are amazing, that they can adapt and evolve and grow and change, that's when significant things happen in your journey. The next step is never going to kill you. On day number 30, I made it to day number 30 facing all of these incredible challenges. And on day number 30, I got off my bike and I threw it to the side of the road. I laid down on the ground and I started to cry. I needed a minute. And in that moment, I was experiencing what I asked for. At the beginning of the journey, I said, what am I going to do when I reach my mental and physical limits? Be careful what you ask for. Because in this moment, I was getting it. And as I sat there thinking, I started thinking of everything that was going wrong and all the struggles and adversity that we were having. And then I shifted my focus, and I started thinking on all the things I could control, figuring out how to take the next step. I started to think of all the reasons I was out there. I started going through them one at a time, and I started saying them out loud. And every time I said one, I was like, that is not enough of a reason to get back on my bike and do 20 more Ironmans. But then once I put them all together, and I gathered them up, and I started to focus on them, and I brought them really close to my heart, only then did everything change. If the journey you're on has enough significance, and you have enough belief and conviction for what you're trying to achieve, you're going to need more than one why. Everybody says, what's your why? If it's big enough, you need to think of all of the reasons why and put them in one area so you can focus on them. And in this moment, I took my sunglasses and I put them on. And when I put on my glasses, I turned into the Iron Cowboy. Now that guy's a bad, bad man. Once I shifted my focus on the things that I could control and I let my team do the things that they were supposed to control, I evolved. I changed. Those last 20 Ironmans were my fastest. And on a year where they said it was impossible, my final and 50th Ironman was an 11:32 Ironman, and we dipped under 7-minute miles on the run. It was an out-of-body experience that I cannot describe to you, but only an experience that I was able to have because I understood to face my fears and realize that the mind and the body evolve, and when they come together, that's when magic happens. Everything you want is on the other side of the fear. Focus on where you want to go and not what your fear is. I truly believe that hard work can be talent when talent doesn't work hard. They said, you're different. There's something about you that allowed you to accomplish this genetically. I said, no, Shaquille O'Neal is different. Simone Biles is different. I said, I'm just like you. And they said, no, we want to test you. So they took all of my blood, spun my cells, sent it to all the labs. By this time, I believed that I was different. So I gathered all my kids up. I said, come on in here, kids. Have a seat. I'm about to tell you the gift that I gave you at birth. I opened up the envelope and I started to read it. And there wasn't one thing in there that allowed me to accomplish this goal. What those tests couldn't test is what was in my mind, my heart, my power, my belief, my conviction. They couldn't test my obsession. There's an MMA fighter who rose very top of his game. He went from nobody knowing his name to cashing a $100 million check. His name's Conor Mcgregor. Conor McGregor is quoted as saying, you're not looking at talent, you're looking at obsession. Everybody in this room can develop as much obsession as they want, as much heart as they want, as much passion as they want. I'm not a product of my circumstances, I'm a product of my decisions. My mother always said to me, James, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. If you want something different, do something different. If you don't like the seat you're sitting in, move. Get up. Change. You're in control. 10% of life is what happens to us. So 90% is how you choose to react to it. On day 30, I realized that everything that was happening was only 10%. I got to control the other 90. On your journey, you get to control that other 90%. The secret to success. This is a tough one for me because my answer sucks. This picture was a lot of fun for me. I took it on the day 49. I had one to go. And it was the moment I started proving myself right instead of proving everybody else wrong. And it was the moment I realized that the secret to success is doing work. A high tolerance for monotony is a decidedly underrated superpower. Guys, monotony, It's called the basics. Everybody seen Karate Kid? Wax on, wax off, paint the fence. That guy was angry for how much he had to do that. But in the fight of his life, it saved him. In the fight of my life, I realized I could take the next step. I learned how to walk as a baby. I did thousands and thousands of hours in the pool. On day number 5, I tore my shoulder. I had to figure out how to do 45 consecutive Ironmans with one arm. But I knew I could do it because I knew I had the basics. The pain didn't get worse, I just learned how to manage it. If you want to get mentally tough, you have to intentionally become uncomfortable. You have to do something difficult every single day. On the bike ride, longest conversations I ever got to have with myself. But in these moments, I'd ask myself hard questions. Who am I? Who do I want to be? More importantly, have I forgiven myself for my past? These are the moments when you get to have real conversations with yourself. This is the moment that you find out what your fears are and what you're willing to do to face them and overcome them. And then I realized, more than anything else, that I wasn't going to die by taking the next step. If you're truly invested in your journey, you'll understand that by taking the next step, you'll evolve, you'll grow, and you can have one of these fancy red awards of your very own. There's still hope for you over 40. I mean, I'm 41, so I wouldn't have got one of these either, so it's okay. We had 2 guys with us full time. They were called the Wingmen. And man, I couldn't have asked for 2 better partners to help me along this thing. Nobody believed we could do this. And these were the only 2 guys I could find to do it. This is Casey. He's a 2nd grade school teacher. And I lied to Aaron. I convinced him to quit his job. I told him it was going to be such a fun adventure. But you guys, again, this isn't a story about triathlon or 50, and I'm not looking for sympathy in what I went through. My hope is literally that I can help to open up your mind and your hearts to what is achievable. I've seen it more often than not that we compare ourselves to the current standard of excellence. And frankly, today's society, excellence is mediocre. My hope is that you're inspired just a little bit today to take action and do something with it. My goal is to empower you so that you will take that motivation and do something with it. The best version of you is on the other side of fear. And you all have it in you. Like I said, I have 5 kids. And for me, this was just a moment in time. And we have a saying in Utah that there's no success outside the home that can compensate for failure inside the home. And if anything else today, I want to leave that thought with you guys and a challenge that you make your family, your friends, and your inner circle your number 1 priority, and everything else will take care of itself. Thank you so much for your guys' time.
Thank you, James Lawrence, and thank you for coming to the ceremony. Thanks also to the ABI staff for today's presentation.